Welcome to the Roy Morgan Weekly Update. Just 3 weeks after the Reserve Bank interest rate cut, Australia's economic honeymoon is over. Consumer confidence, inflation expectations are both back to where they were before the interest rate cut, and real unemployment and workforce underutilisation for the month of February are the highest they've been since the middle of the pandemic 4 years ago. But politically, following Cyclone Alfred and amid significant international uncertainty and unrest, including President Trump putting 15% tariffs on Australian steel and aluminium exports to the United States, the swing to the Albanese government just a week ago has been confirmed and followed up for a second week. In mid-March, the Roy Morgan poll has the ALP on 54.5%. That's up 3%, increasing its lead over the coalition on 45.5% on a two-party preferred basis. This is the ALP's largest lead in the Roy Morgan survey for over 18 months since August in 2023. And in another first, for the first time in over 9 months, the Albanese government has a two-party preferred lead that would deliver the party a clear majority in Parliament. If a federal election were held now, the ALP would be returned and increase their majority in Parliament. Now, analysis of the primary vote shows the battle is now not all about preferences. The movement is in primary support for the major parties. Compared to just 2 weeks ago, coalition primary support is down 6% to 34%, its lowest since October 2023. Labor support is up 4% to 32.5%. Support for the Greens and Independents is unchanged, while support for One Nation and other parties has increased over the last 2 weeks. Opposition leader Peter Dutton made a rare misstep 2 weeks ago when the coalition asserted an LNP government would end working from home arrangements and force public servants to return to the office 5 days a week. Although the opposition leader has walked this pledge back in recent days, it appears to have done significant damage to the coalition's broader support. The uncertain global environment, with continuing unrest in Ukraine and new tariffs on Australian exports of steel and aluminium announced by the US President Donald Trump, are also factors playing against the opposition leader. The ALP has consistently attempted to associate Dutton with President Trump and Trump's more controversial policies and rhetoric. This campaign may just be starting to have an impact as Trump's actions, including imposing tariffs, begin to directly impact Australians and negatively impact on Dutton's popularity. There have also been several ALP negative attack ads aimed at Dutton, highlighting his share investments and his housing portfolio, essentially designed to portray the opposition leader as out of touch with the average Australian. Now, it's also worth remembering, historically, in times of international unrest and uncertainty and natural disasters, there's often a rise in support for the incumbent government, regardless of which one it is. And this was a clear factor during the early days of the COVID pandemic. Now, government confidence, that's where the people think the country's going in the right direction or the wrong direction, increased 3 points to 84.5. However, this is still well below the neutral level because more Australians say the country's going in the wrong direction, 50.5%, than the right direction, 35%. Consumer confidence, ANZ Roy Morgan consumer confidence fell 3.1 points to 83.8. The drop was broad-based in every mainland state, and consumer confidence in Queensland remains the lowest of any state in the week of recovery after Cyclone Alfred. The national reading of 83.8 is the lowest consumer confidence so far this year, and the indicator's now fallen for 3 straight weeks after spiking in mid-February following the Reserve Bank's interest rate cut. Now, the Reserve Bank next meets in 2 weeks' time, and if consumer confidence continues to fall, we can expect to see growing calls for another interest rate cut. Inflation expectations increased 0.1 to 4.8% this week and are now essentially back at the level they were at the time of the Reserve Bank's interest rate cut. So Australians now expect inflation of 4.8% over each of the next 2 years. Now to employment and unemployment, the measure that really matters, and especially, of course, to those who are unemployed. So real unemployment in February is 11.5%. That's up 1.4% on a month ago. So that means an estimated 1.83 million Australians are unemployed, and that's the highest for over 4 years since February 2021. The driver of this increase in unemployment was the large fall in full-time employment, down 273,000 jobs to 9,356,000, and a drop in part-time employment, down 99,000 to 4,767,000, which forced many people in the labour market into looking for new work. In a nutshell, fewer jobs, so employed people became unemployed and had to look for work. Now, these labour force movements led to a large increase in people looking for part-time jobs, up 221,000 to 1,058,000, although the number looking for full-time jobs was little changed at 776,000. In addition to the 1.83 million unemployed people, there are almost as many, 1.63 million, who are underemployed. That's employed part-time but looking for more work, equivalent to 10.2% of the workforce in February. Now that's down 1.1%, and it's down on a month ago as students return to study, etc. after the holiday season, so unsurprising. But overall, total unemployment and underemployment, what we might call workforce underutilisation, was 21.7% of the workforce in February, more than 3.4 million people. And this is the highest rate of workforce underutilisation for 4 years, since January 2021, during the middle of the pandemic. So underlying all these labour force movements, the biggest driver over the last 2 to 3 years has been the unprecedented population growth. Since the 2022 federal election, the population and workforce have both increased by over 1.6 million, while employment has increased by almost 900,000. As you can see, there's a gap of around 700,000 people who've joined the workforce but not found employment, contributing to a significant increase in unemployment. On the other hand, I'm presenting at several forums this week about the future of retail. And it's clear the growth in retail is also heavily dependent on population growth. Retail would be in dire straits without population growth, and that would mean more job losses. Thank you for your interest this week in Roy Morgan's latest results. I'll be back next week to bring you the latest results for consumer confidence, inflation expectations, voting intention, and we'll look again at mortgage stress. Thanks for listening.